want to have is just a conversation about Winnie and the person she was. So when you think about the magnitude of who she was, we just want to know, what was it like for you meeting her? What was it like the first time you met her?
Like all other girls, I was overwhelmed, honored. You're meeting a person you have read about, you have heard about. You were meeting somebody utterly disliked by the apartheid regime. You were meeting somebody who had gone through difficulties. Of course, I was honored to meet Winnie, delighted to meet a woman who was defying the odds.
And in that, where did you meet? How did you meet her the first time?
Well, I met Comrade Winnie outside her house in Orlando. Peter Mukava took me there to meet Winnie.
So it was a planned meeting to go and meet Winnie?
Well, it had to be a planned meeting. I had just come out of jail. I was around Soweto, and I was meeting the leadership of the people.
And upon meeting her, what was her reaction? How was she embracing you, welcoming her into your home, into her home? Didn't
go into Winnie's home. We did everything across the fence. I remember I had just been released myself. The state security was still following me. Winnie was not out of the danger zone herself. So it was not a really sit down and drink tea. It was, Winnie, I am out. Danam, I've heard about you, kind of meet and greet. Yeah.
Okay. And she's known for, like you just said, her tough stance against the apartheid regime. And I think that's how she's known as a powerful, strong, resilient woman. But what can you say was her most striking feature or characteristic?
Directness, courage. Oh, Comrade Winnie was a very courageous woman. She confronted issues. She did not hesitate when she thought a wrong was being done. She spoke up. But she was also a very loving person. Those arms would just open up and envelope people. She had quick tears. Comrade Winnie was in one with anybody who had issues, with the poor, with the destitute. And that is why I think South Africa is in mourning, because we really lost somebody who loved people, who fought for people. So one word to some, Comrade Winnie, no.
I like that. And you say she was a person who loved people. And I think we know that, okay, it's well known that she was a social worker. Do you think that influenced how she sort of carried herself and became a person well known in the community, working inside the community, and ultimately an activist?
I think it may have been that. It may also be her background from home. It may also have been the fact that at a very young age she was mothering her own siblings. It may also have come out from understanding the pain of being a young parent, a young bride without a partner, having to raise a family alone. It may also have come out of a woman who is newlywed to an older man with an established circle of friends, who suddenly finds herself husbandless with 2 children amongst the older generation that were the friends of the husband. It may be that Comrade Winnie was influenced by her training as a social worker, but she was also deeply religious. It may have been the Christian part within Winnie. But she also respected amasiko, except that she did not believe that any man owned any woman. And therefore, in that way, she would fight for the rights of women, she would fight for the rights of girls and the rights of the rural people.
You touch on that part about ultimately patriarchy. And often, I think even in this week, when people were reflecting on her journey, on her life, they would, well, some would sort of depict her as the shadow of her late husband, but she really
She wasn't.
Mm.
Winnie will never be anybody's shadow. Winnie charted her own path. And sometimes when you chart a path, you trample on toes, you are on virgin ground, you will make mistakes. The thing about Comrade Winnie was the ability to find her foot again, but always to err on the side of the oppressed masses.
Okay. I think that brings us to that conversation that what can we as young women and women in general and South Africans learn from her about feminism, about the rights of fighting for the rights of those who are oppressed, the marginalized?
Well, I wish young women today would, first of all, believe in themselves, love themselves first, get into relations because they want to, not because they have to. Believe that they can be the people they want to be. Believe in other women. See other women as their strengths and not their rivals. And work for the upliftment of other women. Because basically, that's what made Winnie good. She saw other women as feeling in her own strength, and we drew strength from her. And I think young women today would be doing credit to Boma Winnie, Ruth Mompati, Boma Sisulu, by doing just that. Recognizing that we are still the majority in the world as women. We still have the same, if not better, brains. We can do and be what we are. But until we as women begin to realize that unless we self-select and we take our positions, the lot of women and children in the world will not improve. Unless I see women as my sounding board, as my reference group, as my strength, I will not get anywhere as a woman. And that is the advice I would give to young women of South Africa today.
And your experiences in prison and war and hers are well documented, and the horrendous really experience you guys went through is documented. But why is it important that we keep telling these stories? Why is it important that people everywhere get to hear about this?
It's important because, like in any other country, after the liberation wars, the history of women is painted out. We are reduced to being partners and wives and walkaboys. Our role is never really entrenched. It is important because if you want to build a complete nation that has no doubts, that has no gender-based violence, that is really equal and ready to push, then you must produce a well-rounded human being. And a well-rounded human being is this person who acknowledges their feminine and male parts. And I think in many ways we fail to accept that. And those of us who've raised children on our own understand that when you are a single parent, you must do the both roles. But actually, we would encourage that our feminine and our male parts be nurtured and be guided by both parents.
You touch on the mother role and the aspect of raising children as a single parent, a single woman really. And Mum Winnie, I think, enjoyed that quite a lot. She had 2 daughters. How did she manage to raise and cultivate that motherly role while she ultimately sacrificed so much of her family life and the relationship with her daughters?
Mom Winnie did not willingly sacrifice. Mom Winnie married Nelson Mandela. She cracks a joke and says that Madiba said to her, "You have now married the struggle." She married the struggle. She had to adapt. She took humiliation. She had to always remember that in the struggle, you were humiliated, you were down, but she remembered the reason why she joined the struggle and the cause of the many people, including her husband, who were fighting for liberation. So whatever utterance, whatever action she took, it was always with a thrust for, I want a liberated South Africa where my children will not have to go through what I went through.
And in that, how did she, like, she talks about, I think it was in a letter that she sent to Nelson Mandela when he was in prison, and talking about she's worried about the children. They're both incarcerated, and at the time the children were at boarding school, but also once she was banished, how would she be able to now provide for these children? And how did the activism part and the community part of other people help in making sure that these children were cared for?
When the two girls were in boarding schools, they were mostly going under different names for their own safety. What was good then, and we must thank South Africans and the international community, was the contribution they made towards keeping them in school and keeping them educated and protected. And for that, Mama Winnie was always, always grateful. But nothing ever replaces the bond between a child, a baby, and a parent. And for those of us who actually missed out in the first years of our children, we know that that thing, that bonding, that raising of your child in the first 1,000 days is important. Some of us don't have relations with our daughters because they were taken from us when they were born. So it is important for us to fight to keep families, to fight to keep people of South Africa stabilized, prosperous, equal, so that we can have healthy, growing children who can tomorrow become healthy adults pushing the agenda of prosperity in South Africa.
And you worked with her, and you were her deputy in her ANC. What was she like as a colleague, as a leader?
Well, I never see Comrade Winnie as a colleague. She was always my leader. She was a mother. She was fun to be with. We could work into the night. We could work into the morning. You would be well fed because she liked feeding people. You can rest assured that if you made a mistake, you would get it. You could also be sure that when you did well, she would boast to anybody and everybody who comes that, you know, we've got it. It was fun, but it was also very instructive to work with Comrade Winnie. She did not lead from behind. She was there. She did things practically. When things were tough, she did not send us and stay in a safe office. She went before us, or she went with us. She did not send you to say things which she would not stand up and defend. So it was good. I learned quite a lot from her. I learned to speak my mind without fear. I learned to repeat myself because I believe in what I said in the first place. I learned that when you are on the right side of the people, nobody could ultimately, in the end, win against you. And I think Winnie, in her death, is vindicated by the investment, the trust, the fight she put up for the people, because we're all in mourning today. Even her enemies, whether they like it or not, acknowledge that indeed there was a great woman called Winnie.
And just finally now from a more formal topic to a more formal topic, as your role, in your role as the chairperson of the NCOP, how will Parliament sort of honour Mama Winnie?
Well, one of the first things that we will do as Parliament is have a memorial service for Comrade Winnie. We definitely will follow up on the monument that was supposed to be built in her name. We will find space to ensure that there is a program somewhere that will honor Comrade Winnie. But we will honor Winnie in our speeches in Parliament. We will honor Winnie in asking the right questions which she would have asked on behalf of South Africans as public representatives. We will honor Winnie by walking and putting questions at local government, because as the NCOP we work with local government. We will ask the executive to do what they have to do. We will honor Winnie by ensuring that the judicial system of South Africa begins to respect the lives of women. We will honor Winnie by remembering the rights of women in the rural areas and the farm working women. We will honor Winnie in the simplest of things by respecting people with disability. We will probably honor Winnie by writing poems, songs, but we must honor Winnie by being honest, not stealing, doing the right thing by the people of South Africa.
Okay, this is just for me out of curiosity. Do you think she considered herself a feminist? Did she ever utter the words, I am a feminist?
She actually never uttered the word. She would fight for the rights of women. But I've never heard Mam Winnie calling herself a feminist.
Do you think it was a matter of the circumstance where she didn't realize that then that she was a feminist? It was just a matter of getting the job done and doing what is right?
I don't know really. I said earlier on to somebody, Mam Winnie was a mixture of sophistication and cultural, a mixture of culture and sophistication. She could be very sophisticated in one moment and then remind you of the cultural implications and what she must respect and what she would not do. That was Winnie.